Good morning. How are you? Shh. It's really early. But I want to get my sauce going so we can use it tonight. Uh-oh. Garlic. Okay, it's set on the counter already. Okay, I'm making my favorite Italian sauce today. It stews all day long. It takes a lot of tomatoes. And we're gonna can it. I have some jars. The girls at my husband's work love this sauce. So we're gonna make it, let it stew all day long, and then we'll can up some for them. Let's get everything in here first. Alright, so first I'm just cutting up an onion. You'll probably notice 2 pots instead of the smaller pot is actually a lobster bisque that we made last night. And while it was good last night, bisque is one of those things that you kind of need to let sit and get more flavor out of it. So it is cooking up today just to get that added extra flavor out of it. I make this sauce all the time. Well, not all the time. When I have time, because it does take all day long. So I'm just kind of rough chopping my vegetables because this is going to be, well, it is like a rustic, but it's smoother because after everything cooks, we're going to run it through the blender. Bisque, I'm just bringing it up to temperature, and then it's going to sit there literally all day long just kind of stewing. Alright, so I'm going to put this on my big burner. I'm going to put it on like medium. We've got olive oil in the pan already, and the onions, and we're going to sweat down the onions. Once they're sweated down, we'll add garlic. And while we're waiting for that to start heating up, because it is a big pan, it's going to take a little while, start our tomatoes. You can do this with whatever kind of tomatoes you want. Typically I make them with Roma, but Roma has been really hard to find. So I am making them with these little flavor bombs that I found at Sam's. They are so packed with flavor. As you can see, one of my containers have not made it. I also have big tomatoes that I'm going to do it with as well. I normally use Roma tomatoes, or my hubby works with a farmer out of Ruskin. They fly into his airport all the time. And when they do, they bring like 3 big cases of tomatoes. So I'll usually make it out of that for everybody. Otherwise, they just sit there and go bad because nobody takes a case of tomatoes home. Like I said, we're just going to rough chop these. Small is good. You don't want ginormous pieces because they'll cook down and sweat down a lot easier if you just if you have smaller pieces. I'm using a paring knife for the little ones, and then I'll be using the bigger knife for my big ones. And I got these just because the tomatoes I got aren't like known for their flavor as far as like in sauces go, but they are still yummy. Okay, so those you want soft and opaque, and they're just not getting up to temperature, so. Alright, this should be about ready. Once your onions are sweat down, you add your garlic. I don't have measurements, so I'm not going to give measurements. Just however the taste you feel. And yes, it's going to look like a lot of garlic, but I am making it ginormous pot. So we're just cutting up the last of our tomatoes. I don't know if you can see this. Cutting up the last of our tomatoes. All in all, I have probably about 10 pounds of tomatoes. I had to throw away probably about 6 or 7 because they did get fuzzy. So I don't recommend cherry tomatoes. Normally I don't use them. Right now I'm just quartering them. I don't normally use them because, let's face it, to get enough for your pot, it's going to be a lot, and it's a lot of work. I'm just quartering these. I use, again, I grab these because the tomatoes I did grab, they don't have a very, they have flavor, but not like a very like in-your-face vibrant flavor. So I grabbed these because these have like amazing flavor. Alright, so I'm just going to quarter them up and put them in the pot. The rest of our tomatoes, and then put this over here since we are now done cutting tomatoes. Tomatoes are very wet cut, so I advise paper towels underneath your cutting board. I'm going to rinse off my hands real quick. They're sticky from the sugar and the tomato. Alright, and then we're going to take this pot and put it over here. Alright, I'm going to turn the stove on to medium. This is what our pot looks like right now. This is a 12-quart stock pot. Now, what you see, it does look like a lot. Again, the cuts aren't exact. You don't have to have exact teeny tiny, everything matches, because we are going to puree this later. You see the tomatoes are already letting go of their sauce, or their juice. In this pot we have sweat down some garlic and some onions. You can absolutely add other stuff if you like other stuff in your tomatoes. Not a big fan of other stuff. I'm going to take this pot and put it over here since we are now done cutting tomatoes. Alright, and then we're going to take this pot and put it over here since we are now done cutting tomatoes. Alright, so I'm just going to quarter them up and put it over here. The rest of our herbs we're going to add fresh, and we're going to add that after these cook down. All right, so we're going to put this on medium. You're not going to make this big of a saucepan unless you're going to share it or whatnot. So I'll write up a recipe. I don't have exact measurements, but I'll write up a recipe and put it down. This will actually cook down to about half of what is there. Yeah. So on medium heat, we're going to cover this. Now I'll stir it up together. We're going to cover this. We're going to leave it on medium heat, and we're going to let that stew down until all of those tomatoes have released their juices and they are mushy and opaque, and then we're going to go from there. Okay, guys. Alright, so we are back. So now comes the blending and straining part. I don't have a very big blender. My little Ninja, my favorite thing in the world, but it does take a lot of work for this part. So, like I said, if you have an immersion blender, it works so much better, but I don't have one, so we're just going to use what we have. And then, normally I don't strain it, but I'm going to strain it today, so we're going to get a little bowl to set off to the side and use as a strainer. Alright, so this is what our tomatoes look like right now. You can see they're all stewed down, they've released all their juices, and they're looking really yummy. So, we are going to take them to the next level. Sorry. My battery may run out here in a few minutes, but we'll go as far as we can. Alright, so I've set up here, I have my blender. I have another pot to pour the soup into as it's blended, and then it'll go back into the big pot when we're all done. I just can't blend it and pour it back in there because then we're just blending the same stuff over and over. So, turned off the heat, and we're just going to use handy dandy ladle and ladle all this delicious goodness into here. Juice and all, everything. You don't want to leave it all behind. Remember, this is a very hot liquid, so you don't want to fill your blender to its max because it will absolutely spew out when you pulse it. You hear the dog. I think my oldest is up. Mo? Oops. Pod doesn't want to sit right. So we have pureed all of our tomatoes down into a sauce. Again, you can strain them if you want, but it is a long, tedious process, and I've decided not to do it today. And now, what we're going to do, we're going to go out here and get some of our fresh herbs. On the camera. We're going to get some of our fresh herbs, so we're going to cut off a nice sprig of this rosemary. Or two. We're going to take some thyme. Okay. Should have grabbed a bowl to put it in. I'm going to cut We'll let that grow. I don't normally put parsley in it anyway. I already have basil inside, so we're not going to cut off any of the basil, but we're going to take a big hunk of this oregano. Move. Move. If you're in the way, the dog's going to come out. And then I have my oregano here. I got it. Thank you. So I've got oregano, I've got rosemary and thyme, and I've got basil. And then we also have
more thyme.
More thyme. I get these from the grocery store. This is what I usually put in it. We'll add a little bit more of this for some flavor, depending on how much our fresh herbs give us.
Hey, you put it in time to plant, and then you gave it time to simmer.
Can I get 2 cans of the tomato paste? Alright, so my rosemary, I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm actually just going to stick the sprigs, just like this, into the sauce. And we'll pull them out once the sauce gets going. Thyme, you're going to strip it from the leaves from the stem. This is my own personal herb garden. There are no pesticides or anything on it.
Oh, yeah.
Strip the thyme. Put it on in there. I'm going to take some of this oregano. I will open this up just like
okay. Not on the footrest.
when you're what?
When I was on the footrest when my butt hold up.
It smells so good.
I was making
This is Italian oregano.
And I was going
This plant was scrawny when I bought it. It had some really good offshoots. And I planted it, and 2 days later, it looks amazing.
Going on the footrest.
Okay, so the dog got on you when you were going on the footrest. That's about all I've gotten from your story so far.
Without a pool, I did not.
I really don't appreciate your hands up my shirt. Sorry, I haven't unloaded the dishwasher yet today, so I'm like, all my knives and stuff are in the dishwasher. Alright. I'm just gonna rough chop these. Kind of not quite chiffonade, but you know.
No way.
Let's see what I'm doing. So if the camera doesn't tip over, it doesn't like to be at these angles. So.
Yeah.
So just kind of a rough chop. And then add that to your sauce. Then my basil, like I said, I harvested this actually a couple of days ago. And have it sitting here. That's why it looks a little bit wilty, but it's still good. Right, so these you're gonna put the leaves together and roll them.
No, there's already a blowing.
Cut off the stems. I don't ever use the stems. And then just kind of chiffonade them. If you don't know what that means, it means to roll them and cut them into teeny tiny thin ribbons. The ribbons will unroll as they cook in the water. Alright. Guys, is there anything prettier than tomato sauce with a big dollop of herbs on top?
What are you making?
I'm making sauce. Can you move?
Can I have another banana?
Alright, so that's our fresh herbs. And these, the rest of these, if I entice my family, I throw them in the garbage disposal, a little bit of water, and let the garbage disposal pulverize them. Not only does it deodorize my disposal, but it also makes that smell throughout the house, and they absolutely love it. Alright, so we're going to add just a little bit of this because it is such a big batch that little bit of herbs that we put in there isn't going to be enough. So I'd say roughly about a tablespoon and a half of this. Again, you can taste as you go to make sure everything is yummy and delicious. Some kosher salt. And I know we already added garlic when we did our aromatics, but we're going to add garlic powder now because it does give that extra kick that it's going to need. Okay, I'm going to add my secret ingredient. Oh no, something fell off the salt. Ooh, I have just enough. No, nobody went out. Screen's off for now. Alright, I'm going to add my secret ingredient, which is Marsala. I love the flavor that it gets to this, or you can add cherry. Then I'm going to add whole bay leaf or 2. A couple of dried bay leaves. We'll fish them out when we fish out the rosemary. Are you in my trash? Okay. Then crushed red peppers. I like to add just a tiny bit of cayenne, not much, just a couple of little shakes. And then one more thing you will need is sugar. Yeah, I know it says bird food, I just haven't had a chance to cover the sticker. I'll put about half a cup of sugar in there. Fortissimo. And then a little bit of lemon juice. Fortissimo. Again, I don't have exact measurements, so, you know, I just go off the top of my head. I made this sauce like forever. Move, please. I can give you the ingredients, just not the measurements. Alright. So we're going to stir that up. Come over here with me. So we're going to just stir this up. And then we're going to add one more thing to this before we put it to simmer. We're going to add... Ooh, what is on my floor now? Probably sugar. Alright, we're going to add 2 cans of tomato paste. Now we might add more later on, but right now we're only adding 2. Now, spatula. Much out of it as possible, and then just stir that in.
You gotta find your pants.
Are you taking Maddie out?
Yeah, because I'm bored.
Okay. And you just let it sit.
Giving you.
Just let it simmer. Between low and like the minimum keep warm type deal. Here you guys. So this is the finished sauce. That's the end of it because I've already jarred it all up. So okay, you can have them all. I don't care. So out of this, I got 12 pint jars plus what's left in the bottom of that, which is about there. Enough to make lasagna tonight. And then I'm canning them. So. That way I can give some away and we can save it, and it does really well without having to freeze it or keep it in the fridge.